Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show today. I'm really glad everybody could join us. So today we're going to talk about something that's extremely important when building business credit, which is how to get set up initially with the business credit reporting agencies. We're going to dive in today. We're going to talk about the main three reporting agencies, another one that's coming on the scene hot and heavy that you should know about, some really cool things and easier ways to build business credit that are new on the scene that many people don't know about, and a bunch of other stuff that you should know about the reporting agencies, even knowing which ones will give you failing scores when you have absolutely no credit established. So a lot of things to go through today. My name, for those of you that don't know me, is Ty Crandall. I'm actually the CEO here at Credit Suite, and what we do is help people build business credit. So we've helped over 15,000 people build business credit just in the last few years. So we know a lot about this topic. What I'm going to teach you today is not theory. This is exactly what you need to know, all the nuances you should know when you're building business credit with the reporting agencies. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to visit us online, creditsuite.com. Give us a call, 877-600-2487, or email us at info@creditsuite.com. And if you are watching this on YouTube, if you don't mind, go ahead and like the video and subscribe if you like the content we dive into today. So first of all, we've got to kind of start with the business basics. And we'll go through this pretty quick because I want to get right to the reporting agencies. But there are a few steps you're going to need to take first before you even think about getting set up with the reporting agencies. There are some things you're going to have in place before they'll let you get set up. The first is obviously your business entity. So in order for you to start building business credit with the reporting agencies, you have to have a business. The first step in setting up a business is to get set up with the Secretary of State. Well, not necessarily the first step. You're going to have a phone number and an address before you get to that step, but you're going to want to set up the entity, set up the actual business. Now, you could build business credit with any entity, but you want to really choose an LLC or a corporation if you can. The reason for that is because sole proprietors and partners, if you have a partnership or sole proprietorship, you are the business. So if the business gets sued, you'll get sued. And part of the benefit of building business credit per SBA and Inc. and Entrepreneur and all these that talk about it is the separation of that liability. So you want to choose an LLC or corporation if that is your goal, is to separate that liability. Now, again, with those other entities, you're going to be liable for what takes place. With these, you won't, even though you can build business credit with any of them. But it makes it a little bit easier to separate the liability with the LLC or corporation. So you want to visit your Secretary of State. A lot of people want to know how to set up a business. You do it right with your Secretary of State. You can easily Google Florida Secretary of State or Florida Set Up New Business, and you'll find your, or whatever state you are in obviously, and you'll find the link to do that. For us, it's sunbiz.org in Florida, but if I type in Florida Secretary of State, it's going to pull up that state website. You don't need to pay any of these other companies to set your business up. I used to have a company that used to send me all the stuff in the mail, and they charged me like $125, but then I realized it's just super simple to go to Florida directly, their website, and set up the business in for about $70. It's different price per state. So you want to search for your name to ensure it's not already taken. Here's the way names work. Plenty of businesses can have your name. There are 50 businesses in the United States that can have your exact name. And the reason for that is because you can open up a business with that name in any state, but only one business of the same name can occupy in a state. So for example, if your company is ABC Incorporated, there can be an ABC Incorporated in California, Florida, Texas, and every one of the states, but there cannot be two ABC Incorporated in the same state. So you want to search for your name to see if it's available. My recommendation is to search for the URL first. Choose your company name. Try to stay away from high-risk industry names. Too much to cover today. We won't dive into high risk, but we've got plenty of videos on our YouTube channel that talk into that. So you want to make sure that you stay away from high-risk industry names, and then you want to check and make sure the domain is available for your name. If it is, grab the domain, go to the Secretary of State, do a search there too. You could just simply go to the Secretary of State, do a Secretary of State's website, do a quick search for that business name, and it's going to tell you whether or not that name is available, or if another business already has it. It'll actually pull up all of the records for that name and its similarity. And I might actually pull that up with Sunbiz just to show you here. If I don't take too much time, we'll see if it's possible to do so. So if I go here, for example, to Florida, and again, I could easily get here just by going Secretary of State, Florida. If I just search that, you can see you want to stay away from ads. The very first search that comes up here is is sunbiz.org. That is correct, our Secretary of State of Florida. You can see it's super simple here. When you come, you can easily come in and search, or you can go to search records. If I go to search records, I'm looking at business records, and just by a simple search of the name, I can do a search in the state to make sure that that name is available. Now, when I do this search, what it's going to do is it's going to pull up all records that are similar. So I can see that this name is taken, right? This is the company. I can see any other companies in Florida that have similar names. So again, this is as simple as it is. Find your Secretary of State, do a search, make sure the name is available, do a GoDaddy search because you're going to want that URL for your name as well. And then you follow the steps to set up the new for-profit or nonprofit business. Secretary of State's pretty simple. Usually with most states, this is a 5 to 15-minute process to set up that entity, and fees vary based on state. $70 in Florida, like $600-$700 in California. So it wildly varies in Florida in per each state, but again, only takes about 5 to 15 minutes to set up. Now, once you've done this, and again, we skipped a couple steps. You're going to have a business name or an idea of a name before you even know what to search for. You're going to have to then set up the business address, set up the business phone number, because the Secretary of State's going to want that information. If you don't have it yet, you're going to have to go back and change it. It becomes a little bit of a nightmare. Not difficult, but you're going to have to print another form, download the form, mail the form, pay another fee just to change that information. So what's with your Secretary of State becomes extremely important. You need to make sure that you get set up with the Secretary of State the right way right from the beginning, because the congruency of that information in the future is going to become extremely important. Next, you're going to want to get your employment identification number. Okay, so you want to get your EIN number. EIN numbers are what these are what the business credit is built under. Okay, so you need to make sure that you get the EIN next. So that's the very, very important step. A lot of people think that you are building business credit under your DUNS number, and that's not the case. So you make sure that you get the EIN number because that's very important for you to build business credit. Okay, so if you don't have the EIN number, you can't build business credit. It's just that simple. So you need to make sure that you have this EIN number set up. If you don't have the EIN, you cannot build business credit. It's just impossible to do. So you need to make sure that you get that EIN number set up. Now, some places will try to charge you. You need to make sure that you don't go to a place to charge you. You need to go to irs.gov. Okay, so you need to make sure that you go to irs.gov to get this EIN number set up. Never pay for it. It's 100% free. There are companies that try to look like they are the IRS and not. So you always want to go to irs.gov. The problem with this is the ones that do, you're going through a 5-minute process before you get to the payment. Then you're like, oh, come on, man. I don't want to start this whole thing over. And you almost feel compelled to pay the fee. Don't do it. Just look for the place at irs.gov so you don't have to pay. Now, there are 3 main business credit reporting agencies: Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian. Now, it's interesting because I say here in the U.S., a lot of people ask me if what I teach about business credit is applicable in other countries. And the answer is absolutely yes, it is. But the difference is that different countries have different reporting agencies. And so Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian, even though they're the 3 biggest here in the United States, they're not the 3 biggest in other countries that deal with business credit. So the steps of building business credit are fundamentally the same, but the bureaus, the reporting agencies are different in the different countries. Now, the other thing I want to notice here is a company called Credit Safe. One word, Credit Safe, will be big in the United States in the years to come. They're killing it in the UK right now. They are taking over the world in many other countries, and they are starting to have an increased presence in the United States. So we've started to tell our customers which creditors report to Credit Safe, which ones are using Credit Safe for lending decisions and approval decisions. We've started to incorporate Credit Safe into more of what we're doing for our clients, and there's somebody that should be on your radar or not, because in due time, more lenders and credit issuers are going to start using them. Now, these are the reporting agencies your EIN credit is reported to, even including credit safe. A lot of your credit issuers are now reporting to those four: Experian, Equifax, Dun & Bradstreet, and credit safe as well. So to get set up with initial business credit, you want to get started typically with initial trade vendors that report to D&B, Experian, and Equifax. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this. We just did a webinar last week on 7 vendors that you could use to build business credit. We broke down the whole trade vendor formula, but I will tell you that these are just simply vendors who will give you credit that reports to the business credit reporting agencies, even if you're fairly new in business. That's exactly what trade vendors are. And if you want to learn more, just go to youtube.com/credit suite and search one of our videos there. Again, just recently here, October 7th or 8th, I think, somewhere around there, we just did a webinar on this topic about trade vendors where you can get a lot of good info. Now, if you have good personal credit or a guarantor who does, then you can also build business credit using a program called unsecured business financing. The way this program works, there's a couple main ways you can build business credit. We're going to talk about 4 different ways you can build initial business credit today, one of which you probably have never heard of. But 2 of the ways are using the vendors, Uline, Quill, vendors who will give you credit and report it. And the second way is using a guarantor that has good credit, getting personally guaranteed business cards that report to the business reporting agencies. Now, the benefit of this program, if you have good credit or a guarantor, family member, friend, investor that does, is that you can get up to $150,000 even as a startup. We deal with all kinds of startup financing. We've never seen as much financing go to a startup as with this program. Typically, it's $50,000 to $150,000 is what you'll get. 0% rates for 6 to 18 months is what you'll also get, which is awesome. So, that is another huge benefit of this program. You're getting up to $150,000. You're getting 0 rates for 6 to 18 months. So you're getting really low payments and a lot of money, even as a startup, or even if you just don't want to show financials, right? So it's no doc financing. So it's unsecured, no doc financing. So even if you're not a startup, even if you're established, you just don't want to show tax returns, here it is. You can able to get this program where you can get up to 150 grand, 0%. Get it no doc, get it even as a startup. If you're interested in that program, you can go to creditsuite.com/get funding, and we'll give you an instant pre-approval there. We'll talk to you a little bit more about the money you can get, etc. So Experian is used by many credit issuers to determine if you should be approved for a credit card and how much you should be approved for. Please note, Experian is very popular with credit issuers. So really, Dun & Bradstreet's very popular with banks and lenders, and Experian is very popular with credit issuers. Okay, so that means these are credit card issuers. These are Citi, and these are Uline, and these are the people that are issuing credit cards. So you want to get started with Experian by using their Biz Verify system. Okay, so you want to see if Experian has information about your company already and verify the information they do have. And you could do this at creditsuite.com/reports. So at creditsuite.com/reports, we just put a quick link for you to go to Experian, Equifax, and Dun & Bradstreet. You can go directly to them, smartbusinessreports.com. All we did was just put a quick link on our page, creditsuite.com/reports. So in one shot, you can access Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian, all of them. Okay, your Experian business report contains identifying information about your business, payment details, public record information, inquiries, company background information, business credit score, I should say scores, because you're typically going to see multiple scores on an Experian report. The main one you're going to see is called IntelliScore. IntelliScore is the second most popular credit score in the business reporting agency outside of Dun & Bradstreet's Paydex score. And the second score you're going to see is a financial stability score. Financial stability scores you will see on Equifax, Experian, and Dun & Bradstreet reports. Those scores, all they do is depict your risk of going bankrupt in the next 12 months. So when you pull this report and you see a regular score, and then on top of that, you also see what's called a financial stability score. Each reporting agency calls it something a little bit different. Then that's, now you know what that means. The financial stability score literally just depicts your risk of going bankrupt. So here is an example of a real Experian commercial credit report. I can show you this because commercial credit reports are public information. Anybody can access them. You can see here's the IntelliScore this determines what mostly the rates and terms you're going to pay on financing and credit cards. So rates and terms on loans and credit lines and credit cards are primarily made up of your main credit score, with Experian would be IntelliScore. But here's that financial stability risk score here. You can see that risk of filing bankruptcy, and you can see here's that IntelliScore goes from 0 to 100, 100 being the lowest risk. You can see here's that financial stability score, 6, very low, very high risk, and you can see the lowest risk is right here, a 1. So you can see that you're going to find both of these scores on a report. Now, the reports sometimes have 7 or 8 scores. There's a lot of different scores on the reports, but those are the main 2 you want to know about, is the financial stability risk score, your risk of going out of business. Okay, that's a big score they look at. And then they also are looking at that main score, which has to do with how you pay your bills. In this case, it's Experian's IntelliScore. Okay, so if your initial score does pull up all your business information, well, then pull your business credit report. So what I'm saying here is, if you go to creditsuite.com/reports and you do a free search and a result does pop up, well, then you probably want to pull your business credit reports. That means they know you exist and you want to know what's on those reports. So do so even if you have no trade lines. Here, that's the problem. The problem well, we're on this report, so I'll show you this as an example. Here's the problem with Experian. And I'll talk to you more about which reporting agencies this is applicable with. This is a 28 score, which is a pretty high risk, but not really high risk. You can see here that it's a medium to high risk. You can see the financial stability risk score. The risk of the company going defunct is extremely high, almost as high as you can get. Here's what's interesting. If we look at I'm at the bottom of this credit report. I can't scroll more. If I'd show you my mouse trying to scroll, you'd see that, but I can't show you that. And then here you can see all zeros. So what you see here is somebody that has no credit on their credit report. It's empty. But because the reporting agencies know they exist, they're giving them a failing score. You can see the primary reason for almost being as high as you can get for bankruptcy is lack of trade lines. So what happens is, if you pull up something at creditsuite.com/reports and they pull up your business, and they show you, because one of 3 things is going to happen. They're going to say no results found. They couldn't find you. They're going to pull up your business name and address, or they're going to pull up your name and address with a little icon beside it that says trade lines. So that means they either don't know you exist, or they pull you up and they've populated a report but don't have trade lines yet, or they populated a report and do have trade lines. So if your net business pulls up on that search, you need to probably get credit monitoring. And I'm going to show you the cheapest way to do that. The reason for that is that because that could mean you have this failing score, failing report, no trade lines. Okay, so we need to make sure that they don't have a report and a failing score set up with you. So Experian requires minimum information to generate a score per Experian. This is a quote directly from them. If a business doesn't meet these requirements, a score is not generated. Minimum information is at least 1 trade line and or 1 demographic element. This might seem minuscule to you, but it's one of the most important things you're going to learn during today's training, is that Experian will populate a credit report for you if they have, per them exactly, at least 1 trade line, 1 account reporting to them, and or is important, 1 demographic element. What is a demographic element? I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's an SIC code. The reason this person was populated a failing report and score was because they know the SIC code to the business. So when they know your business name, your business address, and your SIC code, those 3 things, the SIC code is what's considered the demographic element they need to populate a report. So here's why you need to know this, because your Secretary of State will tell them what your SIC code is when you file your annual reports at the end of every year. So if you set up a business, let's say in October 2018, well, then you have to file annual reports by March of 2019, typically in most states. Their deadline's a little bit different with all states. So when you file the annual reports, then they know your SIC. Then the bureaus get the information from the Secretary of State, and then they know your SIC. And once they know your business name, address, and SIC, it's over. They populate that report. You're immediately given a failing score unless you have positive credit to bring that score up. And again, this is an expansion on their quote. Demographics such as years on file standard, industrial classification codes, and business size. agencies. So what they're saying here is, look, if we know how many years you've been open, your SIC code and business size, we're going to populate the report and score for you. And guess what? All of this comes from Secretary of State. How many years you've been on file, the standard, the SIC code, the business size, i.e. the number of employees you have. All those details come from Secretary of State. So the minute you file annual reports with Secretary of State, you could probably expect this credit report to get populated. That's what we typically see happen. So if Experian even has basic info about you, then they're going to populate that report. And again, don't forget, as I just showed you, the report can be populated without having any accounts reporting. And then you're almost always going to see a score of 27 to 29. Well, that's sure true, right? We just looked at this example and the score's 28. So I used to pull reports all the time. I don't have the ability to do so now, but I used to pull the reports all the time on my live streams. And 100% of the time somebody had a 27, 28, or 29 score, I would always tell them before I scrolled down, you have no credit established. And then I would scroll down and people would be surprised that I would know that just based on the score. But I know it because a score of 27 to 29 almost always reflects somebody has no credit established. But as you already seen, it's still a very high risk score. So it only takes one account reporting to change credit status from low risk to high risk. That's the beautiful thing. Yeah, it does. It does stink that they can give you a failing score even when you have no credit. The great news is you only have to have one account report to them to change that. And it's not always the same. And I'll talk to you about the other reporting agencies. That could change your score from 27 to 85 to 100. Here, I'll give you a real example. Here's a real example. So here is a commercial credit report. Somebody's got a 96 score. Now, the other credit report I showed you here, they only have a $1,000 recommendation of credit. That's how much lenders and credit issuers are looking at to determine how much they should lend you or how high your credit limits on credit cards should be. We can see this person is already jumping. They're 2.5 times that. They've jumped to a credit limit recommendation of 2,500. That score is much higher. The financial stability score was 6 on this report. It's 55 on this one. And their score is 96 in Telescore, 28 here. This isn't the same company or same report, but I'm showing you this because this is what happens. This one company, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I'm at the bottom. We see inquiries. We see corporate linkage. Okay, but we see one trade line, packaging. This is a U-line account. We see it's only one account reporting. That one account we see took them from failing score in the 20s, like I told you, all the way up into the 90s. So that one account, they have one account with U-line. That's the only account they have right here. Okay, you can see that right here. Here's the summary of that account. That one account brought them up almost as high as you can get, 96 to 100 score, and really helped their financial stability score too. They're not really low risk, but they're not as high a risk as you could get. So one account can change that score from bad to good. That is one that account is reported that's positive payments. You got to pay the account as agreed. Your IntelliScore is based on payment history. So if you want a good score, you simply pay your accounts on time or early. So if you get one account and pay it on time or early, then that can happen. So it only takes 30 to 90 days after you get it approved for an account to be it reported. So you basically need to buy something with a vendor like Uline or Quill, pay the bill timely, on time or early, and then it typically will report in 30 days. Some sources like Quill report quarterly, and quarterly is 90 days. That's why I always tell people, if you want to build business credit quick, you get as many of these vendors as possible so you don't have to be hindered or held up by the ones that take 90 days to report. So business credit reporting agencies like D&B get data from a lot of different places, including utility companies, landlords, companies that help set up new businesses, insurance, and beneficial providers. Look, there's a whole system that in the weeks and months to come, I will be decoding on live stream of what happens behind the scenes. And it's too much to go over now, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. There's something called the Small Business Financial Exchange, which is basically owned by its quote unquote members. The members are lenders. Okay, so what happens is lenders own this exchange, and it's just what it sounds like. They exchange data. It's a data warehouse. They take all the points of data you put on applications, your loan performance, they put it all into Small Business Financial Exchange. Then the reporting agencies like Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian take that data, they populate it onto your reports, and they produce scores. So the Small Business Financial Exchange is not for you. They don't report, they don't create reports, they don't create scores. They're for lenders and credit issuers to know information about you. Some you don't want them to do and want them to know, and some you may. Then the bureaus take the data from the Small Business Financial Exchange to create the reports, and the lenders and credit issuers use the data from the Small Business Financial Exchange in order to come in here and actually be able to make lending decisions. So the bureaus get information from utility companies, anybody that reports payment history to them, landlords, Secretary of State. They also get information from Yelp, Yahoo, Bing. They get it from Facebook page. They get it from their crawlers are all over the web getting data from everywhere, including Small Business Financial Exchange. All of this is what is gathered and populated into your report. So you want to check with D&B to see if they have a record set up for you now. It's free and easy to do. You can go directly to their website to check what's called iUpdate for your business. You can also go to that same link, creditsuite.com/reports. Again, all we did there was just create a quick link so you don't have to go try to find the link with D&B, Equifax, Experian. If you want to try to find the link directly with D&B, you can go to www.dandb.com and you could try to find the link with them, or go to creditsuite.com/reports where we just give it to you. If you pull up a record for your business with D&B, consider pulling your actual business credit report. To do so, you'll need to enroll for credit monitoring. In doing so, you'll see if you have any credit reporting. You'll also see if you have any credit scores reporting. Now, if you have negative items on your report, well, then you want to dispute those through iUpdate. If you have negative items on your Experian report, you can do it right through their credit monitoring platform. Dun & Bradstreet, you don't need credit monitoring. All you need to do is just use their iUpdate service to be able to update information. You can get your reports and scores with D&B and Experian through Nav here, creditsuite.com/monitoring. Look, it saves you a bunch of money. I don't care what you do. But if you go to D&B Direct, it's $150 a month for credit monitoring, and Experian charges $50 for your scores and reports, $200 a month. I just gave you a link at creditsuite.com/monitoring. Still get your reports, still get your scores for $24 a month. So it's $180 cheaper. It's 90% cheaper to use this link going through our Nav integration than trying to go with D&B and Experian. If you want to go directly to D&B, you can. businesscredit.dnb.com/business-reports. Okay, that is what will get you taken care of there. Or again, if you want to go directly to them to get monitored, you can. It's just a lot cheaper if you go through our other source. So if your search with D&B doesn't show you have a DUNS number, you'll need one. The DUNS number is a 9-digit number issued by Dun & Bradstreet and assigned to every business location in its database. So let's talk about this. Experian has something similar. It's called a BIN number, business identification number. You're going to start seeing this term out there more, so you should know about BIN. The DUNS number is also a 9-digit number that's basically just, it's like your customer number. It's how they find you. But here's what's interesting language. It's each having a unique, separate, and distinct operation for the purpose. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. DUNS number is a 9-digit number issued by DB, and this is from them, assigned to each business location in the database, having unique, separate, distinct operation. What they're saying is that if you are a corporate headquarters that has many locations, well, then those locations don't have unique, separate, distinct operational purposes. They are part of your main headquarters. But if they think that you have a business in 2 different locations, 2 different addresses, they will create a DUNS file and a second credit profile for you because they don't know that the business is the same as the one with a different address. Why is this important? You have to make sure that the addresses that you put on applications are all congruent. The address that you put for your business on the Secretary of State record should be the same you put everywhere, including every application you fill out. If you change addresses, then you need to then go back and change your Secretary of State records and change every online listing you can. Otherwise, you have a real problem with D&B populating credit reports for a different business and creating multiple credit reports. For the record, this isn't hard to fix. You could use iUpdate to tell them you have multiple DUNS numbers. They'll go with the first DUNS number that's issued and they will combine reports. But just know that in the world of business credit, having business addresses be different is a really big problem because your business credit's built under that actual address. So every business got to have a DUNS number before you'll get D&B's Paydex score, which is the most common score used in the business credit reporting world. So you can search for your DUNS number at creditsuite.com/reports. You can also go to dnb.com/free-DUNS/number. During the DUNS setup process, you'll be asked for a lot of information. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to get your DUNS number. And you should have your name. You should have your address. You should have your EIN set up. You should have your entity set up. You should have your phone number set up, all the basic business details they're going to want when you do this, and you don't want to have to go back and change them. If you select that you're a government contractor, you'll get the DUNS in about 1 to 2 weeks. But if you don't pay D&B anything and aren't a contractor, it might take up to 30 days. Look, I've seen people that get their DUNS in days. I see the average person takes 2 to 4 weeks. I see a lot of people go 30 days. Some people don't get it after 30 days and have to call them. But again, the DUNS number, you don't want to tell them you're a contractor if you're not. And they give you an option now to expedite the DUNS number for $50. In my opinion, it's worth it to spend the $50 to expedite the DUNS because it expedites your business credit building. But they may do away with that $50 charge, or it may be more. Those things change in time. That's at your discretion. So there are 3 ways to start building your business credit report. One is, again, I told you I was going to teach you 4 different ways to build initial business credit today. We talked about getting vendor credit. We talked about unsecured business financing. Now we're talking about third, which is called D&B's Credit Builder, dnb.com/credit-builder. Okay, that's D&B's Credit Builder. And with this, you actually can come in and be able to add items you already have done in Bradstreet's credit reports. That's how it works. You have to be careful with Credit Builder, though, because you're only setting up credit with Dun & Bradstreet, not Equifax and Experian. And lenders and credit issuers, a lot of them look at Equifax, Experian. The other problem with D&B's Credit Builder is that it's $149 or $159 a month. They just changed that to $150 as of 2018. The other problem is that a lot of accounts with Dun & Bradstreet don't report to the business credit reporting agent, or excuse me, a lot of the accounts that you might want to add to Dun & Bradstreet, you cannot add to your Dun & Bradstreet credit report. They won't let you. So they exclude, and I'm going to try to pull that up really quick, they exclude a lot of accounts. So if you're looking at D&B's Credit Builder, my advice is at the very bottom in the small print, they have a disclosure, what they call a glossary of terms. And if you go to that glossary of terms, you could basically just be able to look, and it will tell you all the accounts that are excluded that you cannot add. And that's something you should look under. So here we go. Here's that page for them. You can see they're $149 a month now. If I scroll to the bottom, here's the small print, not the bottom, but right here, here's the small print. You can see glossary trade references. If you click on glossary, this is a really good. This is if you're going to pay for Credit Builder, read this first, because this tells you all the accounts that they won't report. So here we go. Some trade references may not be successfully submitted to D&B. Some types of companies don't report. The company automatically reports already. The company appears to be untrustworthy. D&B does not have enough information on them. These can't be added either. Any kind of financial services bank, credit union, utilities, gas companies, credit cards, virtual offices, credit counseling, international companies, businesses with unknown SIC, and trade references that can be manually submitted through Credit Builder for Dun & Bradstreet. Acceptance can include. So here's an example. This is new. I have not seen them do this yet. They added accounts you may be able to. And the reason for that is because like this rules out most things. As a business owner, you pay your lease, you pay your rent, you pay your utilities. If you can't add your utilities and your lease, what can you add? Well, Dun & Bradstreet had so many complaints, it looks like they finally added some other kind of accounts that you may add or think about adding. But you need to look at this to see all the accounts that can't be added. Just keep that in mind. And again, it's pretty expensive just to add items to your D&B credit report. So you can also, again, as we talked about, get those initial trade vendors. You can also come in and do that unsecured business financing program. Remember, you could build business credit with Dun & Bradstreet with Experian using vendors. You could use it also using this program as well, or using unsecured business financing. With Dun & Bradstreet, you can actually use the trade vendors. You can use unsecured business financing, and you can also add their Credit Builder. Now, I have a little bit of a surprise. I'm just going to drop this real quick and then run. We do have a similar service rolling out for Experian, we believe, next month. We partnered with a reporting agency that for the first time ever is going to add items that you already have to your Experian and your credit safe credit report. But here's the difference between that and Credit Builder. You can add all the accounts you can add to Credit Builder. You can add the utility accounts. You can add satellite TV. You can add your phone service. You can add your cellular phone to your business credit report. And not only can you add those accounts, but it backdates all your history. So you can now add these accounts to your credit report, and then you can backdate the history for years on your credit report. So this is going to be a huge new product that's rolling out that we think will be wrapped up by next month. So if you go to creditsuite.com/monitoring and just keep an eye on that, you will see that that page will update with a new option within probably 30 days or less, where for like 99 bucks a month, you can get Dun & Bradstreet credit report, Experian credit report, credit safe credit report with scores with all of those. And you'll also be able to add items to credit safe and Experian, including utilities, all for 99. Again, if you got an idea of what I showed you earlier, it was $149 with Dun & Bradstreet to only add items to D&B and monitor D&B. So big difference. And that will be coming out probably within the next month or so. We're finishing up some API integrations with Credit Safe now. So with Equifax, well, most credit issuers and trade vendors report to D&B and Experian, not Equifax. So because of this, you find trades that report to Equifax, get them. Most accounts do not report to Equifax. When you find creditors that do report their accounts to the business credit reporting agencies and do it to Equifax, get those accounts. You want to work on building Equifax because it's harder to build because so few actually report to them. Okay, so many lenders pull Equifax commercial reports for lending decisions. So if you're going to talk about getting loans, this becomes very important. Your Equifax profile and score can also be included in your FICO SBSS score. Look, if you're not familiar with FICO SBSS, you can search it on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/credit suite, and that will pull up video training on FICO SBSS. FICO SBSS is what's necessary for things like small business or SBA loans. If you want a small business loan, if you want to go into your bank and get a loan, you're going to need to focus on SBSS. SBSS pulls data from all of the reporting agencies on the business side, Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian. So your data from Experian, Equifax, and Dun & Bradstreet can all end up on that FICO SBSS score that becomes crucial to get bank financing. And this score, again, is used by SBA lenders, I mentioned. So it's also important to build business credit with Equifax when you can, because so few creditors report to them, as I mentioned. If your search shows that Equifax has a report of your business, pull your Equifax reports and scores to see if trades are reporting. And again, Equifax is the exact same as Experian. If they have any piece of data to recognize your business, demographic information, SIC code, they populate that report and give you a failing score. So Equifax and Experian will give you a failing score if they know your business name, address, and SIC code, which they all get from the Secretary of State. Dun & Bradstreet is very different. I have the opposite problem with Dun & Bradstreet that everybody asks questions on. Dun & Bradstreet requires 3 accounts to be reported to them before they populate a credit report and Paydex score for you. So a lot of people say, hey, I have accounts reporting to Dun & Bradstreet. They won't create my report. No, they won't create your report until you have 3 accounts reporting to them. Very different than Equifax and Experian, who will populate it with 0 accounts if they know your SIC code. So again, especially true if you have some type of public record, but again, it doesn't matter. If you have nothing reported and they know your Secretary of State, they're going to populate that report and score. So let's recap. Setting up a new business means opening the business credit reporting agency files. That's what CRA means, credit reporting agency. You'll see that with consumer and business, that term. Use BizVerify to set up with Experian. You can do a search. That's just their own lingo and term that they use to gather the information they need to populate a credit report. Check iUpdate to see if a business is set up with D&B. And again, you can check Equifax, Experian, and D&B at creditsuite.com/reports. Few trades, well, then you probably want to make sure that you're getting some. Okay, so if you don't have any trade lines, you need to make sure you get them, because even one will take your score from failing to good with Experian and Equifax, and it's going to take 3 of those to get you set up with D&B. And again, you can always check your status at creditsuite.com/reports. That just lets you do a free search of your status with all 3. And again, don't forget creditsuite.com/monitoring gets you Dun & Bradstreet and Experian monitoring for only $24 a month, and with our new edition, probably somewhere into November of 2018. It looks like, and we're still finalizing some things, you're going to have the ability to get Credit Safe, Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, all commercial credit reports and scores, with the ability to add items to Credit Safe and Experian. Again, it'll be in a beta because this is brand new. It's an industry changer, and it's a game changer for the industry, but we've got to be slow in beta this to make sure it's all reporting. Just so you know, we've tested it for 3 months on multiple accounts with us. We've had clients do it. All those accounts are still reporting, as all is good. So keep an eye on that creditsuite.com/monitoring. That should roll out in the next month. That option will pop up and be available once it does. If you have any questions on building business credit, reach out to us direct, 877-600-2487, info@creditsuite.com, or visit us online at creditsuite.com. And also, don't forget, at the top right of our page, you can access all of our social media links. We do oftentimes on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram daily tips. You can also access our Facebook Live Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern, where I'm doing whiteboard and chalkboard training and answering questions in real time. And then we go live on YouTube every month, or every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. So you can access all of our social channels, all kinds of tips and training on getting business credit financing as well. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you missed this in its entirety, this is a YouTube Live. So it will go on to YouTube and populate shortly, and you can check it out. But now you know everything you need to know to get set up with the reporting agencies. And as you start to get set up with the reporting agencies, you'll start to see items report on your Credit Safe credit reports too. And I even talked to you about a new shortcut to get items added to Credit Safe as well, which you're going to want to focus on because they are a big up and comer. So anything we can help you with along the way, 877-600-2487, info@creditsuite.com. And as I mentioned, creditsuite.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.